We're continuing our discussion from our previous videos on analyzing the supply chain. And we talked in a previous video about different key performance indicators or performance metrics we could use to evaluate our supply chain. So we could look at cost, we could look at quality, we could look at customer satisfaction, we could look at turnover and fill rate. Well, more and more what we're seeing in terms of analysis of supply chains is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we can do descriptive analysis. So we can use data mining and dashboards to summarize the performance of our supply chain. We can use predictive analysis to predict future trends and forecast the demand. We can do this across the entire supply chain, sharing information with the other companies. And we can use prescriptive analysis to help us recommend plans based on predicted scenarios. So what is the most efficient shipping and logistic routes based on what is predicted in terms of demand, in terms of lead times, in terms of costs of planes and shipping. So it can recommend the best routes to take in order to get the materials to us. So this takes us back to a discussion that we had previously in terms of those 4 types of data analytics. So remember, descriptive tells us what's happening in the business, and diagnostic tells us why it's happening. When you hear the term business intelligence, we're talking about diagnostic and descriptive. We also have predictive, so what is likely to happen, and then prescriptive, what should the business do, recommending actions and strategies based on what we predict is likely to happen. So we talked here about how we can use particularly the descriptive and the predictive and the prescriptive to help with our supply chain. And we talked previously about the role of AI in decision making, and so we're seeing that even more now in supply chain management as well. So you can have artificial intelligence help you with decision support. So this is to help you make more accurate decisions by providing you with information. We also have decision augmentation, and this is where the computer is giving you recommended alternatives that you will then choose from. And then we have decision automation, where we are having computers actually automate the decision-making process and making the decisions for us. So there are a number of different levels in terms of automation and artificial intelligence in supply chain management. So we can use technology to help us in that process. And as we are looking at, we talked about here in terms of, we go back, the data mining, the dashboards in terms of describing what's happening, summarizing the performance of our supply chain to help us track where materials are going, how quickly they get there. We can use RFIDs, radio frequency identification. And so if you think about, if you've ever driven on a toll road, you might have a tag that you don't, instead of having to stop and pay to drive on the road, it simply tracks that you went down the road. This is an RFID, and they can be more active. So that is the RFID itself talks to satellites and tracks where you go. So if we think about logistics in terms of delivery of items to customers, so that FedEx, UPS knows, or the Amazon delivery service knows if an item got delivered. It's tracking the movement of the delivery van and of the package, and so it knows when it's gotten to your house. You can have a more passive system that would be more like the tag that you have on your car as you're driving on a toll road, and so you're passing by a reader. Or we can think about in terms of scanning the packages as they move. So this summer, maybe you traveled and there's been a number of airlines having issues in terms of keeping track of people's luggage. So some airlines, Air Canada, WestJet, lost everyone's luggage. I went to Montreal for a conference and my luggage didn't make it. And so I'm having to attend a conference wearing the same dress for multiple days, right? It's a problem. You need to know where your baggage is. Well, other airlines, Alaska Airlines, for example, doesn't have this issue at the same exact time, same exact environment that everyone else is having issues with keeping track of everyone's baggage. Alaska Airlines didn't lose a single piece of luggage. What's the difference? Well, when you check in your luggage, they scan the luggage before they put it on the plane. They scan the luggage when they pull it off the plane. They scan the luggage when they put it on the carousel. It's tracked every part of the process. And they're using more passive readers to track the luggage, because the active ones that are talking to satellites are much more expensive. But being able to track your materials as they move helps reduce costs, helps your supply chain be more efficient. And so we talk about Amazon moving their materials, we talk about Uber, and you know exactly where your car is that's coming to get you, or the skip the dishes that's going to drop off your food, right? You can track them the entire way as they're driving around. And so this is helping in terms of managing our supply chain and the movements of the product from whoever made it all the way to the customer. We can also have information sharing. We talked about when we look at our supply chain, it's important to decide on the level of visibility across the supply chain. How much information sharing is there going to be? So we can have what's called electronic data interchange. This is software that's going to share information about purchase orders, sales data, shipping notices, and invoices, and it's going to share it across the supply chain. So all the members of our supply chain can then see what's happening. So to go back to our discussion about the analytics, that descriptive analysis, that data mining in the dashboard, summarizing information, is part of our EDI. We're sharing information about, how many orders have come in, when do the orders come in, and you can see that across the supply chain. We can actually take that a step further and use software called Enterprise Requirement Planning that combines the information from supply chain management with information in terms of managing the financials, human resources, logistics, and the customer relationship management. So now we're tying together systems like the database and the software about our customers and who they are and how well they're being converted from being leads to actual purchases, how frequently they purchase. We have our supply chain management that looks at the orders and what materials we need from parts of our supply chain. And then we also have systems that look at our personnel and staffing and when people are scheduled. So enterprise requirement planning starts to put all of those together and start to help you make strategic decisions for your organization. So if we see that we have a lot of demand for our product, it will then help in terms of more people will be scheduled to work. We'll make sure the materials we need are coming in. The members of our supply chain are getting our orders in a timely manner, and that's being scheduled to arrive as part of that process, and that the customers are being updated on the status of their order, or that to make sure we have enough available. So we have all of these components talking to each other, and there is going to be even more growth in this area as we start to incorporate the artificial intelligence in there to help us predict what's going to happen. So not just tying the systems in terms of what's currently happening, but in terms of predicting what's going to happen and then how it's going to impact all of those different parts of the organization, all those different systems. And so coordinating the work across those systems using our predictive and prescriptive analytics.